Hello, everyone. You're welcome to yet another edition of the live stream of the NBA Warri Branch webinar series. You will agree with me that we have actually done one. We have done a stream before now, um, and the stream actually focused on the presentation of one of the speakers, and that uh, is the person of Dele Oye, who actually spoke on the emerging legal practice uh, with focus on sports and entertainment law from a general perspective. Um, in this particular webinar, we have four speakers. The first speaker, who happens to be a seasoned practitioner in the area of um, um, emerging legal practice Situa, spoke on on emerging legal practice, as we are expected to know it to be. Um, in other words, he spoke from a general perspective. Now we have another presentation by uh, Diane Okoko, whose presentation will also uh, basically focus on s- sports and entertainment law, but from a different perspective, different from the way the first speaker examined uh, the issue there. It is the presentation of Diane Okoko that we are now going to look at. When we finish with her presentation, we are going to look at the presentation of uh, Elo Ochuke Azaino. Uh, Most likely, we are going to restream it as well. Thereafter, we'll look at the presentation of Kevin Omogene, and we'll do a live stream of that uh, uh, presentation as well. Now, this approach is to enable us, you, as well, to have a kind of understanding of the various presentations. So, having listened to the first speaker, it's expected that you now focus on something different to hear from the presentation of the second speaker. So, and that is how it will follow until we get to the last speaker. There is also room for feedback. You can ask, some questions um, by sending the questions to us. We're definitely going to get back with the answers as far as the, the questions are concerned. Now let us move straight to the presentation of Diane Okoko.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deloye, for
that, you know, um,
I don't want to have you.
the NBA Warri branch under the leadership of Chief Emmanuel Uti for the invitation. Otumba Dele Oye, as always, has set the stage very nicely. He literally has gone through the gamut of sports and entertainment law as they stand today. So what I'm going to do at this time is try as much as possible, especially being mindful of the fact that we are supposed to round up this webinar at 4:30. I will go through this talk with you, and I have no slides to present because I want this to be as interactive as it possibly can. I'm going to speak on the emerging areas of legal practice, and I'm going to break it into 3 buckets as I speak. The first, I'll give you an overview of what the industry stands at, as we speak. Then I'll look at certain challenges of those industry, the 2 parts of the industry we're looking at, and then maybe throw you just a little to the opportunities that abound in these areas of legal practice. But you see, the thing about the emerging areas of legal practice is this. If there's anything you will take home today, it's the fact that these are very, very specialized areas of practice. So Otumba has said over and over again that you need to build capacity. So if you looked at sports law, for instance, if you looked at the area of entertainment legal practice, then maybe push yourself a little to fintech, because that's also an emerging area that is very, very novel. Then maybe agricultural legal practice. Because the truth is, if you looked at the agricultural space, you can count on your fingertips the number of lawyers that are playing in that space. And what it tells me is that a lot of money is being left on the table. So we are in the change regime. And the change regime has been singing for the last 6 years now, is it 5 or 6 years, about agriculture. So everything is tilting in that space. But how many people are taking the opportunity of playing within the agricultural sector of our economy, knowing that a lot has tilted in that space, because even the framework within which we are operating is almost like, pulling strings from different areas to make it work. Why are lawyers not looking at that sector and asking themselves the questions as to why am I not there? So this is just a food for thought, for you, and I thought put it out there so that, because if we're talking about emerging areas, then let's look holistically at those new areas. Because the truth is, there's work for everyone. There are few lawyers being inundated with work because most of the other lawyers are not seizing the opportunity. Like I said, you're leaving a lot of money on the table and just walking away. So if I did an overview, for instance, of the entertainment industry, in Nigeria, so IMF statistics tell us that in this year, 2021, the cinema industry or the cinema aspect of the entertainment industry will probably bring in about 22 million US dollars. The music industry will bring in about 73 million US dollars. What part of that figure are you taking? The GDP of Nigeria annually, the entertainment industry contributes an estimated 1.4%. And if we hear every day that Nollywood, for instance, is the 3rd largest, entertainment industry, sorry, not entertainment industry, the largest movie industry, and the fastest growing in the world, then it means that there is a lot to be taken from there. But if you looked at the GDP, then you know that there is a lot that is, the figures are not adding up. If we're grossing 22 million alone, and it's accounting for just 1.4% of GDP, then you know that there's something going on. And I'll speak to that when I come to challenges, right? So the entertainment industry in itself, and what I'm doing is just touching peripherally on both industries, because I know that between Kelvin and Elo, they will want to delve in depth and more mindful of the timing that I have. So if you looked at live entertainment, you looked at film, you looked at music, publishing, broadcasting, even adverts falls under the entertainment industry, and who are the main stakeholders? There are quite a bit, and it's a full value chain. When I come to the opportunities for lawyers, I'll reel out the value chain for you so that you know that regardless of the level of your competence, you can begin to play in a particular area within that value chain. So let's look a little about let's delve a little into challenges, for instance, okay? So if I took the entertainment industry first, challenges would be things like piracy. Otumba has told us about the 3 key legislation in the country now that regulate or guide entertainment law, being the Copyrights Act, the Patents and Designs Act, and the Trademark Act. And if you ask yourself the question, which of these actually, as much as possible, protects our entertainers, our artists, then you'll find out that there are so many loopholes. If there are the loopholes, why are we not playing in the field to plug the loopholes so as to put the money or to retain the money within the sector? Remember when I talked about the disconnect between the GDP and the reputation of the industry? This is where it's coming. Revenue is being lost on a daily basis. As lawyers, knowing that our revenue would come from the payments of the clients, because the truth is, if you gave a client a bill of $100,000, if he had $200,000, he would pay you the 100. But if he did not have, there's no way he can pay you, right? So the idea is to ensure that every penny due to him goes to him so that it comes back to you. And remember, the thing about being lawyers is the trust we instill and the confidence that we elicit from clients. If my client knows that I would protect him, if my client is very sure that when I say it's raining outside, he can take my word to the bank. Trust me, any money I asked for when it came to the bills, he would pay the fees, isn't it? So trust is something that we sell. As soon as the clients know that we're doing our very best to protect their money, they give the money back to us. So it almost works like a vicious circle. You need to make the money for them, and then they give it back to you, knowingly or unknowingly. So that's one of the challenges that we faced. And for the fact that Nigeria has ratified so many conventions on intellectual property, the question still is, why are we not, why do we have this serious problem of piracy? We have, conventions such as, we're signatories to WIPO. We have the Paris Convention, we've got Rome Convention, we've got the Patents Cooperation Treaty, for instance. We've ratified all of these conventions. But now the thing comes to implementation, which is where I'm going back to the fact that as lawyers, we must play a role in ensuring that the legal framework is one that is watertight, is one that is that allows for the revenue to be generated. I'll very quickly run to another challenge within the entertainment industry, which is the funding challenges. We know that, or maybe we do not know, but Nigeria produces at least 2,500 films annually, movies. If we have that kind of output, then what is stopping the revenue from coming in? Mostly it drills to quality. If you have a 5,000 you know, budget movie and one for $100 million budget. Which would you watch? Even your screen, I'm looking at Kelvin's face right now and he's smiling because he knows that his curved TV, his HD curved LG will not even, it won't even show that $5,000, you know, movie. It will just pick itself automatically to the Sylvester Stallone kind movies and, you know, the Vin Diesel kind movies that are very, very, you know, well produced. If we had this funding, and this is where the lawyers come in, if you know how to put the documents together and sit in those meetings with specialized knowledge, then you know how to convince the clients. Clients being the funders. So there's a lot of funding in, you know, around the world going on. If you looked at funders that are, so even angel investors, there was a meeting sometime in November in Lagos. And the investors said all they want is to fund the movie industry. And guess who picked it up in Nigeria? I won't tell you because, you know, the documents are still being signed. But if you looked hard enough, you would know that there probably is only one TV house that can pick up those kind of movie production rights, right? Because they have gotten themselves to the level where, you know, international funders are comfortable with that TV house and they know what they are, what they can produce. You know, so very quickly, let me run to the opportunities that lie first in the entertainment industry, and then I'll do a cursory, you know, glance at the sports law industry. Remember, I told you that it's a whole value chain. So this is where I'm coming to. For the entertainment industry, for instance, okay, knowing there is a specialized legal practice, there's contract law in it, there's law of torts in it, there is immigration law in it, there's finance law, there's competition law, there is bankruptcy law, even privacy law, there's intellectual property, there is employment law, there is a whole gamut, insurance, all manner. If you're not a contract lawyer, you probably will be a bankruptcy lawyer, isn't it? Why are you not playing there? If you're not an insurance lawyer, you probably know about intellectual property. So why are you not going in there to ensure protection for these artists? And remember that as a lawyer, you know, you could be an agent, not necessarily an agent to the not even to the artist, because playing in this field requires specific industry knowledge, yes, but it also requires certain levels of lifestyle changes, you know. So being an agent means that you protect. So this person is still your client, isn't it? You protect, you know, that's the artist. You could be an agent to the artists themselves. You could be an agent to the company. You could be an agent to the brand. So so these are three people in one set. Do you understand? So if you were saying that there's no job, three lawyers have just gotten, you know, briefs, isn't it? Then you could also be a general counsel. General counsel in sports law, for instance, could be to the organization, to the brand, to the regulator. So we know that there are certain arbitrators, for instance, because under FIFA, you resort to arbitration. So there are certain arbitrators that are retained or on the panel of arbitrators. And Kelvin, you know, I'm going to have to talk to you off camera now at some point so that we can get on the panel of arbitrators of FIFA, knowing that being an arbitrator also requires specific competence. You have to have trained and qualified, right? So, Chairman, this is not me, you know, soliciting for briefs now. This is me having a one-on-one side talk with Kelvin. So as a general counsel, you could do that. As an arbitrator, you could be retained, right? Compliance officers. Where do you need compliance officers? And compliance officers too are approved by the regulators. That means you need a certain level of qualification to be approved. Just like the compliance officers in the banks, in the PFAs, you also need that level of qualification to be approved by the regulators to be a compliance officer. But you could also be, so you've got your practice here, your compliance officer, within the industry, which is either sports or entertainment. Then you have tax advisors, just like Otumba has mentioned earlier on. And you know that if you, for all our sports buffs, I know a number of people who literally cried during Messi's, tax scandal, if you will, So people like that. So you're not necessarily his retained lawyer. You're just his advisor for tax. And he knows that and trust me, when you save the person money, they forget everybody else and defer to you. Because every work he's doing, when he wakes up in the morning and gets onto that field or gets into the recording room, all he is looking for at that point is, how does this add to my bottom line? And then this is very, very crucial, because I don't know how many universities in Nigeria offer sports law and entertainment law. As an academic in that area, you would be so sought after, because it would be one webinar, one seminar after the other that you'll be speaking in. And it means that you will always be sought after. So because we know that academics hardly ever retire, they retire officially from the classroom, but they are, they delve, or they evolve rather, into specialists, consultants, and their work never really ends. So for the opportunities for, so let me talk a little about the challenges in sports law. The doping, for instance, is a big challenge. Now, as a lawyer, and you had a client or you were an agent to an athlete that has just been charged with doping, are you competent to stand before the arbitral tribunal? Because that's where it's going to be referred to. You're not. So automatically, that money is left on the table. But remember that arbitration is a secondary career that you can do alongside being a litigator. So what stops you from getting qualified? What stops you from, going into that area of practice? And then if you talked about the opportunities, for lawyers, apart in the sports industry, apart from being, those agents, the compliance officer, all of those things as well. In addition, you have to specialize in these areas of law. I said that already, isn't it? But what you can also do is to remember that however you want to play in these fields, you must be at the creation table. And when I say the creation table, I'm not talking about where the contracts are being drafted. I'm talking about where the negotiations take place. I'll give you an example. So because we are a firm that has delved into agricultural law, we are also on the panel of experts of a leading, why am I saying a leading? The leading agricultural institution in the country. So if I'm on the panel of experts of NASAL, for instance, then I know where the transactions are taking place. I know what the transactions are, and immediately I know how we can play in these transactions. So we're on that panel. We are also doing, so if there was a legal framework to be put together, automatically, we would have to be in the room when the framework is being drafted. If we're in the room where the framework is being drafted, then you know that we know the law because we drafted the law. So at this point, I will, like they say in the National Assembly, I will off my mic. Thank you for listening. Eric, are you there?
I am. Thank you so much, Diane, for that very brilliant presentation. We appreciate you. You have added another dimension to it, which is that lawyers have a role to play in the agricultural industry. We'll come back to that. Questions are already coming in. Kevin, you have listened to Otumba Dele Oye. You have also listened to Diane. They have laid the foundation for emerging areas in legal practice. Beyond obtaining a specialized degree in sports law, you have been in this field. You have been in the NFF, you have been in the West Africa sub-region, you run a football club. What do you think are the opportunities available for lawyers in the sport industry?
Okay. Thank you very much. In fact, that's the summary of what my presentation is about. So I think I'll just delve right into it because that's actually the title of my presentation. So if I could get to share my screen. Okay. Okay, I think I've got it now. Pardon me, it's holding up a bit. Okay, this will do. Are we good? Hello?
Kevin, you can go on.
Okay, all right then. Okay, so you're good to
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here, and I'm also learning significantly from the presentations so far. So without much ado, we're going to talk about opportunities for lawyers in sports law. I hope this is not a village people thing now because it's okay. So this is going to be our outline. Yeah, so just do a brief introduction what sports law is. Talk about sports law as an emerging area of legal practice. Then I'm going to talk a bit on how to become a sports lawyer and identify some legal practice opportunities in sports. And then we will conclude talking about the future of sports law practice in Nigeria. Interestingly, quite a bit of what I'm going to say we've heard before. So it just shows that there's a sync in all what we're talking about here. So what is sports law? It will be safe enough to say that it's the area of law or practice, that deals with issues relating to the sports industry. And I believe pretty much everyone realizes that over the past few decades, the commercial value of sports and sports competitions has grown massively. And there's a lot of money in the industry now. So as you can imagine, where there is money, of course, there needs to be that framework, legal framework to protect people's investment. So that accounts for how sports, interconnect with different aspects of law and law practice. Contracts, you see examples there in the diagram: contract law, administrative law, torts, personal injury, labor, criminal law, intellectual property law. These are some of the areas, of law that interconnect with sports. And we'll look at it in a bit more detail to give you some illustrations. For instance, when we talk about sports and contract law, the relationship between clubs and their players or their coaches. There's a contract governing it. Transfer agreements, moving a player from one club to another. All these are governed by contracts. Intellectual property law. You're talking of trademarks. Image rights. You see footballers getting endorsed and sports persons getting significant endorsement deals. These are examples of how intellectual property law connects with sports. Also, administrative law, we talk of governance issues. You heard about compliance issues too, antitrust, competition, disciplinary proceedings. If you have disciplinary proceedings within a particular sport, was fair hearing observed, all these issues are some of the examples. Also, labor law, employment law, issues like collective bargaining agreements, a players union. As a professional footballer, I'm being paid, it's my source of livelihood, and that makes me technically an employee. So beyond being a sports person, as somebody paid professionally, I become, in the eyes of the law, an employee, and I should have, the rights and benefits that are attributed to employees under law. Also, heard previously how criminal law can have a bearing in the sports space too, and tort personal injury law. These are some examples of how sports law connects with other aspects of law. So, sports law as an emerging area of legal practice. Of course, sports law is fast growing because, as I said earlier, because of this increase in the commercial value of sports. And sport has developed into an industry. And of course, for any industry, for its business ecosystem to thrive, you need a legal framework to protect the legal rights of people as well as their commercial interests. Um, Things like MMM and what have you, or such schemes, one of the reasons why they are not sustainable is because there is no way to protect people's commercial interests. You'll be reluctant to put your money where you have no guarantees. Then there are people who argue that there's nothing like sports law, while some others, like my humble self, believe that you can actually reckon with it as a substantive area of law. And personally, I view this from what I call the industry perspective. Going back some decades, you realize that industries like IT, telecoms, oil and gas, sometime in the past they were non-existent, but over time they have emerged, and have industry features such as the economic and commercial activities that go on in the industries, the capital, labor, employment, business models, and even jurisprudence for their dispute resolution. And just like likewise, sport now possesses a significant all these industry features, in fact, which make me believe that you can reckon with it as an area of legal practice. And then let's talk about how to become a sports lawyer. I think it will actually go beyond that because it's not just you don't necessarily have to be a sports lawyer to practice in the sports law space. It could also be how to get involved in sports law, and there are two sides to it. First of all, be a good lawyer, and be a good lawyer. Yes, as we mentioned earlier, sports law cuts across several other areas of legal practice. So you need general and sound legal knowledge, skills, experience in these relevant areas if you are to excel in sports law. And then again, apart from being a core sports lawyer, you could be a legal practitioner in niche areas such as intellectual property, tax, immigration, even litigation, and you could have an accumulation of sports clients because we've heard that before, from previous presentations. So this is just showing that, yeah, we're emphasizing the point. And then apart from being a sound lawyer, the other aspect is understanding the specific, I always get tongue tied here, the specificity of sports. You need to understand that there are peculiar principles, that apply to sports, and you need to know these principles. You need to appreciate them. For instance, when you talk of things like antitrust and monopoly, lots of regimes, governments, they have antitrust laws which prevent monopoly and what have you. But come to think of it, why can't I start a football club today? We have a number of football clubs, and then we go start a league of our own, and then we get to do transfers with other clubs. No, it doesn't work like that because you have to come in line with FIFA. So technically, FIFA enjoys a monopoly in football. So these are some of the issues you need to understand. I could have or you could have someone who has dual citizenship, who has the rights and privileges of a citizen in two different countries. But then he plays for one country and then he cannot not play for another country. There are peculiar principles that operate in the sports space, which to succeed in and operate in sports law, you need to be aware of. Then let's identify some legal practice opportunities in sports. There are most of them, and this list is not exhaustive. You have in-house roles. It could be a legal officer, a governance professional, a compliance officer in a sports federation, in leagues, sports organizations, so even marketing companies, clubs, and even ministries. The National Sports Festival is just being concluded. And you've heard things about money, these organizational issues and all. The bottom line is, yeah, there's a role that law plays there. So even in the sports ministries and government establishments, there's a role for in-house lawyers. And then, of course, legal representation. Yes, you could have your footballer or your basketballer or club, and then they could need legal representation at some point. And whether it's before a disciplinary tribunal or even litigation, there's the opportunities for legal representation. And then again, you could actually represent sports persons as a player agent or an intermediary. Your skills as a lawyer sets you at an advantage. Although you don't need to be a lawyer to be a player agent or what have you, but your legal skills give you an edge in that field of endeavor. And also, you could be a solicitor or lawyer to organizations that play or operate within the sports space. There's also the aspect of alternative dispute resolution. As Diane said earlier, yes, you could be a member of a panel of arbitrators or mediators, sports tribunals, and even part of the upcoming developments in Nigeria is the setting up of the Court of Arbitration for Sports. And I know that some ADR bodies now are now looking at gaining expertise or having panels for sports disputes as well. So litigation also, we talked about it. And then law firms, which is something that's interesting because after my postgraduate study in sports law, I wanted to join a law firm that had sports law as a practice area. I checked online, I checked physically, went to a law, but I didn't find any. That was 2010. And even speaking with some partners talking about it, they found it interesting, but it was really not something that we had in the country at that time. Fast forward now 10, 11 years, and the number of people that I've come across, who are in the sports law space, and the number of law firms even that you go to their websites and you see sports law as a practice area, it's really, really encouraging. And then you have also a couple of boutique sports law firms as well. So the point here is that it is really growing. It is emerging significantly here. Then we'll just conclude with talking about the future of sports law in Nigeria. The development of sports law as a viable practice area in Nigeria depends on commercialization of sports. And I say this because it is not enough to be a sports lawyer. You have to be able to pay your bills. It has to be lucrative. So in the past, sports has basically been social and political gains, like they say, taking kids off the streets. So they say when Nigeria Super Eagles are playing, that's the one time that Nigeria is really united. So beyond these social, cultural, political gains, even, Recently, the federal government has announced that sport is being recategorized into a business, be recognized as a business area. This now indicates that they are shifting from the social and community objectives to try and harness some of this economic potential that sports possesses. Yeah, everyone is familiar with the Premier League, for instance. It is a significant revenue generator for the government over there, because when you think of things like tax and the commercial activities all around it, so it is good that the federal government in Nigeria has now identified sport as a business. And part of this approach is the national sports industry policy. We've had a couple of sports policy documents in the past, but this one now talked about sports industry, which is indicative of the view of sports as a business. And the implementation of this policy, is going to really unlock the value chain across the spectrum of sports as an industry. And it has, and like we said earlier, this commercialization, will really, you know, ensure that sports law becomes a lucrative and a viable area of legal practice, much more significantly than it is now. And one of the features of the proposed sports industry policies is setting up of a sport-specific dispute resolution mechanism. We're having a national court of arbitration for sports. So apart from the possibility of being on the panel, disputes that will emerge, whether they are technical disputes regarding to footballers and clubs or sports persons and their clubs, even when you talk of sponsorships, when you talk of even down to things like sports betting, to really grow the jurisprudence and give the practice of sports law a very significant boost. Yeah, I really had to cut this brief and run through because of time, but I believe that if we have questions, it will be more enlightening, and then we can address specific issues. And I'm going to say at this point, thank you very much. And beyond the questions, I'll be happy to discuss further. The contact details are there. And like Diane said, of course, we can collaborate, and the idea is, so we can, can even, it's about making lucrative, make some money off it too. So thank you also very much, and thank you to NBA Warri. I'm really honored to be here, and this is really a great initiative. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Kevin. We'll come back to you again. The questions are already coming in. This webinar has been extended by 30 minutes, so we'll have the time to take the questions before we close. As I know, the jurisdictions like Delta, Edo, and some of these South states are known for producing artists, renowned artists. Although at the points where they are hit limelight, they move to bigger cities like Lagos. But what do you think that are the opportunities available to lawyers with respect to managing the legal interests of upcoming artists or even established artists in jurisdictions like Delta and some other neighboring states?
Thank you very much, Mr. Eric. I do appreciate this great opportunity that this birth branch of mine has given me, and I do not take it for granted in any form or manner. My little treatise is focused more on the opportunity that the entertainment industry provides for legal practitioners in Delta states specifically. We all know it's a basic knowledge that law is always, as rightly said, in an interdisciplinary field, and it cuts across basically every spectrum of our life. The other speakers have delved into this area that law as a profession affects our life. There is truly no field of human activity that does not require law. The law is dynamic. To borrow the words of my lecturer who I just learned passed away, in person of G.I. Roku, when we were in school, then he said law is everywhere. It's in every field, it's not part of our life, and law is in entertainment, and it's a rewarding one at that can benefit all of us. Before delving into the prospect that entertainment law offers to legal practitioners, that are exposed to it in Delta State, there is a need to discuss the nature of entertainment law and what it entails. Entertainment law, in its simplest form, according to Wikipedia, refers to a form of activity that holds the attention and interest of an audience and gives pleasure and delight to relieve stress or for entertainment purpose, as the case may be. The entertainment industry is also known as the showbiz or show business industry, according to the same Wikipedia, and is no longer a sector for just happiness, but it also now revolves around other disciplines that surround it. The entertainment industry covers such activities such as music, filmmaking, comedy, modeling, broadcasting, you name it. We all have an idea of what entertainment entails. Now, what is the contribution of Delta State as a state to the entertainment industry in Nigeria? The entertainment industry, as it is right now, is one of the fastest growing industry and actually contributes significantly to the GDP of Nigeria. Ms. Okoko has done justice to his contribution, and I will not want to delve into that. The successes of Nigerian entertainment industry is given credence to by a lot of international recognition that we are getting of late. Need I mention Burna Boy? He has won the Grammy now. Wizkid brought it home. Warri is not any different. Bovi has gone to London, done it. Agodai has gone to London, done it. Godons has gone to London, done it. AY, who I call a Warri man, anyway, whether it's from any state, has gone to London and has done it. To be sincere and candid, let's not kid ourselves. When it comes to entertainment, be it comedy, be it music, be it movie, Warri is the epic center of comedy for Nigeria. So at this junction, we would like to go into an overview of entertainment law practice in Delta State. Having understand the extent of entertainment industry and the crucial contribution it makes, one will want to ask, how have Delta State fared as a state when it comes to entertainment? Granted, entertainment law is not confined to a well cut out defined topic, as we probably see in other topics such as contracts and thoughts. However, entertainment law spreads its tentacles far and wide and covers principles of law on various legal needs. Intellectual property is there and visible, the law of contract, finance, tax, security, business association, labor relation, immigration, and field we cannot really just itemize within 15 minutes are all within the entertainment industry. In view of the asymmetric nature of entertainment, there is no single legislation that really regulates the entertainment industry in Nigeria today. There is no codification the way you pick evidence act and say, oh, if I want to deal on the law of evidence, I will study the evidence act and know it all. Rather, you see pockets of entertainment law in virtually all fields. For example, intellectual property that deals on the aspect of entertainment law, we have the Copyright Act, there is the Trademark Act, there is the Patent and Industrial Design Act. When it comes to contracts, we have Statute of Limitation, we have Illiterate Protection Act, we have other acts in the area of finance and tax that covers entertainment. We have the Finance Act, Company Income Tax, Personal Income Tax, Value Added Tax, legislation on labor law. We have such as Labor Act, Employees Protection Act, and other various legislation that covers the entertainment field. They are not tailor-made or cut for the entertainment field per se, but you see bits and parts of them in all of these areas that I just highlighted. So what is the role of an entertainment lawyer? They are numerous. One cannot fully exhaust them, and I would say they are trade secrets, some of them, but I'll do a listing in my slide. I don't know if they are shown. We have contract advisory for service to clients, which may include artists, performers, brands, filmmakers, record labels. Then we have negotiation and drafting and review of development and production contract, such as writers agreement, talent agreement, and recording agreement. Also negotiating and drafting review of financial agreement to cover sponsorship, bank loans, co-production, investment, grants, another form of financing, especially grants, because the entertainment industry is in Nigeria per se right now is a lot of grants are coming in. Some of them might have been misconstrued with fraud and the rest, but there are still opportunities that brings in a lot of grants. We also have preparing of agreements for clients such as appearance releases, location releases, license agreements, and riders. The list is excellent. You can't just mention the entire list. There are numerous of them to mention. So the next question is, how do one become an entertainment lawyer? I wish I sincerely wish that I could say you go to this law firm or you buy this book and it will guide you appropriately to become an entertainment lawyer. But sadly, that is not the case. There is no codification for it. What is most important, if you want to become an entertainment lawyer, has to do more of the interests, the desire. A large percentage of entertainers that we know today that have grown, it is grow up in our very neighborhood, our locality. We might have attended the same university with them, same secondary school. Have a problem. When they now attain the heights whereby they will need our services, often than not, they run over to Lagos, to Abuja to seek the so-called Lagos State entertainment lawyers. The so-called Lagos State lawyers do not know more than we, or let me say, the Warri persons do. No other knowledge, there's no book, there's no art. I know you can specialize and do your master's in it. There are no art. Really. What one really needs are the industry language. It's key to be an entertainment lawyer. I would say it carelessly. You don't call agreement in the entertainment world, especially if it's not coming from it. It's just a codification of what an artist needs. It's a rider. It's like a pre-contract that states the terms that an entertainer wants. And how do you go around this? You don't just use languages like common day languages. You need to understand the language and the pros and cons. EPs, what does it mean? Albums, what differentiates an EP from an album? How do I classify whether my work is recommended? How can my work qualify to be on YouTube? How can I access or open a YouTube channel? How do I do all of these things? There's no textbook, really. Google can help you, but there's no textbook. There's no person that will say, who have codified it and this is all of it. We have to improve ourselves. We have to show the desire to want to expand the horizon of our legal knowledge. And in doing so, it's important that one must be nimble and lash on every opportunity to advise on matters pertaining to entertainment law and the space around entertainment law. I understand my lawyers, and it's key. And we don't chase ambulance. It's a rule, ROPC. I'll tell colleagues that are interested in entertainment law, why don't you just go and wait at the mortuary? You don't have to chase the ambulance. Something is certain. If you wait at the mortuary, the ambulance will come either to pick up or drop off whatever it has to drop off, and you can see the ambulance there. You don't have to chase them. These persons grew amongst us. We know them. We know most of them. We speak their language. We dress like them. This is another angle that we need to focus on in the pros and cons. We love black and white, but for goodness sake, you can't always wear black and white as an entertainment lawyer. There is need for us to diversify. I, as a person, I don't wear black and white when I have entertainment meetings or transactions. I prefer maybe dark blue, dark green colors. That stylish aspect. It's a showman's business. It's not a money business. It's a serious one. It's a showman business. And for you to be accepted, you must look the part. You must dress the part. Even as minute details like your seconds. You can't be all around black all the time. You can play with these areas of it. And what other things can we also do as an entertainer, entertainment lawyer within the industry? We can act as solicitors or legal advisors to these talents when they want to get their revenues. There are a lot of channels that are out there. There's Spotify, there's Apple Music, there's Tidal, there's Deezer, there's Auduma, there's YouTube. Now there are content distributors, people that take this specific talent that is being harnessed and post them out there. We can act as a conduit pipe to derive these resources and enrich our clients. And believe me, someone that do not know that he can make money from his videos, his comic videos that he posts for free. If you show that person how to make 100,000, I don't think that person will be hesitant to give you 25, 30,000 from that 100,000, because without you, first and foremost, you never such an era exists. Then I would say it, I cannot stand in judgment to tell my colleagues who intend to delve into entertainment law on how to name their law firm. But I've realized, I will tell you sincerely, that if you want to come into the entertainment sphere, it is better to name your law firm Rosenot Solicitors than OPK. And it's a field that you need to learn the art. It's a showman business. Apart from dressing like them, even your surrounding, what you do around them, how you package yourself. Now, I've seen lawyers that will tell me, oh, I can't be on Instagram. Oh, I can't be on LinkedIn. Oh, I can't be on Twitter. Oh, I can't be on social media. I'm above that. It's for babies. Well, maybe I'm a baby, but I will remain a baby till I'm 90 or 100 years, because those are where the major briefs come from. And you must be visible, you must be seen. It's a showman's business. You must be actively engaged in them. You must follow blogs, you must be at it, you must know what is going on. You might not know all the music, but you must identify the various genres of music and advise clients accordingly. You might not know all the comic aspect of comedy, but you must be able to focus and pick an angle that you want to harness. And when you go and meet your client and expose this to him, he will only be grateful to you and engage you and will retain you. He will not go and look for any lawyer in Lagos, because you have satisfied his local needs within his local environment. Even when he grows, even when he becomes big, he will revert back to you because you've exposed him to things that he never knew before. Now, like every discipline, like every hustle, like everything we do with our life, entertainment law has its own challenges. And I listed them: ignorance of existing law governing relationship between artists and stakeholders in the industry, piracy, unequal bargaining power among stakeholders, use of standard contracts by lawyers to prepare entertainment agreements. It's easy. You could go online, you could buy textbooks that can help you. There are samples of various textbooks that can really help you to prepare agreements instead of taking a tenancy agreement and converting it into an entertainment agreement. It will work because it's an agreement, but it will lack the language, it will lack the construction, it will lack the descriptive words, and you will lose most of your client because they are used to a particular way of operating. We also have lack of finance, then non-enforcement of existing laws. A lot of people breach laws. Intellectual property are breached every day, but people don't know their rights as far as these things are concerned. As a legal practitioner, it's your duty, your responsibility to go out there and educate these persons. You must not carry a badge on your forehead. Oh, I'm an entertainment lawyer. You want to provide a solution to a problem. The person will come back. It's what I found useful to me, and it has been rewarding. In conclusion, so that I don't take much of our time, the entertainment industry provides an ample source of grief and incomes to lawyers. And we in Delta State were amply blessed. The courts, quote unquote, on strike now. These are avenues for us to diversify. Look for that talent, you know, that your old friend, that person you knew you grew up with. Start from there, engage them, take books, be more interested in this art, and I can promise you it will come rewarding because there are advantages to it, and those advantages can be financially rewarding and gives you an air of control over your space. That is the entertainment industry. So I'll be open for questions as we continue. The slide is up. I hope it can be shared within the members that participated in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Otuko Ezaido. We really enjoyed your presentation. We'll now move into the question and answer section. We'll start with Mr. Lele Oye. October, are you there?
So,
Yeah, I have a few questions for you from the participant. Number one, we talked about sport betting. The question is whether I will take all the questions once so that you can answer all of them. The question is whether there is age regulation for sport betting, considering the fact that a lot of young men who go into sport betting are most times even below 18 years or contractual age. That's number one. Then secondly, the participant want to know how did you go into this area of practice? Was it any training that you go through any training? Then thirdly, and I think that this question emanates from the presentations, and that has to do with the rules of professional conduct. As a lawyer, you are not expected to solicit for grades, but a recurring issue has been how do you connect either entertainers, sportsmen with legal service providers without violating rules of professional conduct? Then the fourth one is more or less a comment that because of the specialized nature of sports and entertainment, where there is a dispute, AGRO should be the option, that litigation should be the last option. Do you agree? Over to you.
thank you very well, first of all, I want to thank my co-speakers. I've learned a lot. Try Kevin, who is our sports this thing. I hope he can still sign me for under 15. Well, on a more serious note, the issue of sport betting, like you rightly mentioned, once you are underage, you cannot contract. So if you win in the process of betting as an underage, you know you cannot enforce it if the people refuse to pay you. So it's an illegal contract. And the underage itself maintains it. It's a simple answer so that people who are they are taking risks, which naturally they will not get the proceeds, they become a dispute. If they are lucky, they get away with it, they get paid, fine, but I don't encourage that. It's also not good for our moral this thing, for our kids to be so exposed to any form of gaming or wagering at that young age. Then the second question is, how did I go into this area? Like we all taught the same thing in the law school. That we have to teach ourselves. Whether you like it or not, there's a certain stage you reach in practice. You have to leave the general area for the younger ones who are just leaving the law school, and now focus on more deeper areas so that if not, you score like go and just leaving the school, they have nothing to do. So we as elders, we owe ourselves that duty to ensure that we go into a much more serious, and usually I don't use serious, but everybody is serious, but much more deeper area. Because of experience and the kind of friends you have acquired along the line. So, but why do that? You must continue to teach yourself, like what we are all doing today. We are all learning one or two things. So there is no limit to knowledge. You must continue to learn. And where you don't have the skill set, go for seminars, go for diploma courses, go for refresher courses, or even look for your colleagues who have done extensive work in that area. You can go to their office. I do send on my juniors to certain offices where I admire what they do. For them to go and learn one or two things, they come back and teach even me. So there is no trial. It's a process of body making. So you have to continue to handle yourself like a good soldier and good as. So it's very important that you learn by, first of all, you have to know that it's an area you want to go into. If you don't like it, any small mistake you will pull out. So maybe it's an area you have flair for, and you just be enjoying your practice. So that's what I would say about that. So it's self-knowledge and training. You can also have formal training area. And I'm going to do this. You can do anything on the internet and train yourself. So if you have the time, you can self-train. Then how do you now play in that industry? It's very rare. Regarding to the next question of professional ethics, I was a prosecutor for 13 years. I argued the Okike case that re-established LBDC up to Supreme Court. I can tell you, if you don't know the rules of professional practice, you are likely to make mistakes. That's why I said for you to begin to stand as a lawyer, you must know the rules that regulate you. 99% of us, the day we leave law school, we don't read anything about ROBC. And that's how we get into problems. A lawyer appeared before us and told us that he was doing acceleration of briefs. Then the chairman asked, what is acceleration of briefs? He said he used to bribe. That is called motivation. That we are old lawyers, we don't know what acceleration, he was demonstrating to us. And that's how he got himself disbanded. So no matter how good you are, if you don't know the rules that control you, you are just like somebody driving blind. So no matter how successful you are, you're going to end the journey very soon. So it's very important you understand your rules. And like a footballer, there's no difference between free kick and offside. How can you score? So these are the issues. So on the issue of how not to infringe the rules, there are very serious legitimate ways as a lawyer you can indirectly show what your competence is. You are allowed to have websites. You are allowed to go into seminars. You are allowed to do what we are doing now. After this, people are already contacting me, telling me they have this type of brief, can we work together? It's like this. You must be out there, you must be in the industry, you must be where the discussions are going on. You cannot say you want to be an entertainment lawyer and you are in the office, you are watching yourself every time. That does not make you an entertainment lawyer. You must go to where the discussion has been made. Where if they have a seminar on football, or I'm sure my friend Kevin will tell you, there are various, you must go into the industry, get the knowledge, know the people, and speak intelligently. When they say you're a lawyer, you come in, you dress like a proper lawyer, you show who you are. And people, they won't say anything the first day. But when they have a problem, they remember that guy who gave that seminar paper at this way. That's how it is. You sell yourself. That is not advice. That is sharing knowledge. So you must be able to know the subtle ways to deal within the law. That's why you must know the law that regulates you before you go into any form of this. I fully agree with my Lord, the Honorable Justice Arima. I will eventually thank her for having her time to attend this house and a huge source of encouragement to some of us. Because most of our colleagues who are in the bench don't have much time for our own activities. And I think you are the Warri bar, you are lucky that you're able to attract one of the judges to go attend this type of seminar. So that they too can also understand what the issues are. ADRO is the future. When I use the word the future is that now people use it as a stepping stone to litigation. And I think as soon as our judges continue to understand that the ADRO can completely resolve all issues. And refuse when you go to get those interim orders, they refuse to do. Then people will now know they have to make sure they do their contracts and make sure they know that the ADRO will resolve it once and for all. And I like those quick suggestions on the sports arbitration proceedings where things are resolved within 1 hour. And even in business, we're able to get that. Instead of going to police station to resolve disputes, we'll come back to we lawyers. Our biggest problem is we don't market ourselves. When a client walks to your office and says, this is my problem, if you know you have no case, tell the client. Don't because you are going to make money, you now say, oh yes, I can get injunction, and you start wasting everybody's time. The process, the client will be frustrated, and he will not come back to you on the second transaction because you're a time waster. So let's all of us market the profession, bring honor back, integrity, and you'll see that there is so much brief for all of us. I think I can stop here so that my other colleagues say something. Thank you. How about dealt with it?
Thank you so much, October Deloye. It's a pleasure having you. Diane, in your presentation, you talked about the new order in Nigeria in line with change agenda. Part of it is agriculture. What are the opportunities available for lawyers in that industry as an elementary area of legal practice?
Okay, thanks a lot, Eric. And that question ties very to what's agricultural Nigeria all about? And the truth is, at this point, we do not have, legislative framework that regulate the industry, which is the reason that it now becomes a very, very lucrative place to play. The reason I say this is because lawyers have a dual role at this point, first and foremost, to participate in formulating the policies, the framework that will eventually regulate the sector. Secondly, because it is a specialized area, you need industry-specific knowledge, even contracts. You need to go granular. When I say going granular, you need to know the full value chain from the farmer. And that's not to say that you must be in the farm, because well, I go to the farm sometimes. Don't get me wrong. It's not really all about just sitting in the office, and reading those books. No. Knowing what the stream requires gives you a leg in. First and foremost, because we don't have that legislation, we can, participate in formulating it. At this point, there is, the agricultural promotion policy of 2016 to 2020, but that speaks to investments in the agricultural subsector. Right? So if you knew that, then as soon as those contracts came, and I can tell you something, in one day, you can have 50 contracts to review. Almost all of them are different in their wordings because the value chain is so large. So you're dealing with, cashew production, you're dealing with peas, you're dealing with ground pea. You need to know all of these. You also need to know what, the Nigerian Agricultural Policy 2020 is saying as to how agriculture is dealt with in the country. So these are the areas that lawyers can play, because if you read these things and you go and you read hand in hand things like the NOTAP Act, things like CAMA 2020, for instance, then you can advise the regulators. And you know that there is a lot of funding going into the agricultural subsector right now. So that entails that all of those policies emanating from CBN that are guiding funding, you need to at least have, knowledge of them. Because if you looked at this side and you didn't look at the other side, then you don't have a full contract. But as soon as you have this contract and you have advised, the client, then you know that you literally have a retainer, because tomorrow 3 others are coming on. So these are areas that lawyers can very easily play when it comes to the agricultural subsector. Eric, has that answered your question? Eric seems to always just go a wall on me. I don't understand.
Thank you so much, Dan. You have answered my question. Let's just simply. Kevin, you have been part and parcel of the NFF somehow. In the process of, is Kevin on? Oh, Kevin is not with us. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, you are here. Okay.
Yes.
Number one, I want to know, you have about 20 national football clubs that are in the local premiership. They have footballers who have contracts with their different clubs. Do lawyers play any role in that contractual process? Number one. Then secondly, one of your colleagues has asked if whether it's sports law is not part of entertainment law. I know that you briefly mentioned it, because sports law stands on its own, or it's part and parcel of entertainment law.
Okay, first of all, regarding the player contracts, in fact, the very fact that we're talking of the contracts, which has legal issues and will be binding, shows that there's a role for lawyers. But then again, it's from a practical point of view, you have a situation where leagues at the professional level often have a standardized player contract. So what you have in practice is many people just take that standard contract template and impute, okay, it's 300,000 naira a month. Well, this one is 200,000 naira a month. But as things evolve, as things develop, particularly in our football, when we now talk more about things like image rights, and you now see more and more the need for lawyers because from my work with the league, I've actually come across situations where I see things and I'm like, oh, it's obvious there was no lawyer involved. Because of our training, there are things we can easily pick out as red flags. So it goes without saying, to summarize that, yes, there is a role for lawyers from contract negotiation and even beyond. Yes, indeed. Then the second one now is it's sort of second question regarding the relationship between sports and entertainment law. I don't want to say I be either here or there because, like we said earlier, there's an interconnectivity, between sports and different aspects. And even like has also been said, entertainment law too has a connection with other aspects of law. So if they both have these same features, you can as well, realize the fact that sports and entertainment law are interconnected. So on the one hand, you can actually look at sports as a component of entertainment law because, like someone said, yes, sports is entertainment. Then, apart from the entertainment, you have the developmental aspects to it. You have grassroots, you have academies where you have people who are underaged, where they are just in training and people they are not necessarily showcasing their talent at that point to the world. So the entertainment value at that level is not so much. So you now talk of more of other legal aspects. But the bottom line is it is an area, whether within or on its own, that has its own specialist features, but they are really, really closely related. And to an extent, yes, you can. There's a part of sports and sports that is an aspect or a component of entertainment work.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for that detailed explanation. We have about 5 minutes to go. Briefly, Mr. Otuki, there's a question with respect to songwriters. How can the law protect them? The question is, in most cases, they write songs for artists, and at the end of the day, they are not even paid, or they are not even well paid. How can their interests be protected within the entertainment industry from the legal point?
Thank you very much. It's a tough one because of the very nature of entertainment law practice and the development that's gotten to in Nigeria. But that's why we have these seminars. If that songwriter engaged a lawyer from the get-go, before he even commenced writing of the song, he would have been properly advised. Their rights, rights to the songs, their royalties paid, subsequently, who gets what, when, and how. All of those components are usually what are contained in a songwriter's agreement between an artist and the songwriter. What really happens mostly are that record labels engage these songwriters as their staff, internal staff, and this person writes for them. For in situations whereby external songwriters are engaged and they have a formal agreement, it's as simple as it is. It's a matter of agreement. What did you agree on? Did you agree on signing of the entire rights in the song, or you agreed on getting royalties from it? And whatever you agree on is what you get. If you know any songwriter as a lawyer, and you know this person writes song for some specific persons, this is a great opportunity for you. You can engage him or her. How much are you being paid? Can we put up a document that will just cover this song, so that in the event that the song becomes an international hit tomorrow, you get a measure of what comes to the artist and the rest. So their protection lies with the law, in fact, and they still have to come back to the lawyers, and that's why we're having these conversations.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tuke, for that explanation. We have come to the end of the question and answer session, and that will also be the end of the webinar. So before we close, I would like to invite the chairman of the NBA Warri branch, Chief Kuti, for his closing remarks. Mr. Chairman, sir.
Well, gentlemen,
It's really great one. The panelists are great idea. I'm sure we have had too much. We need to thank, on behalf of the branch, we thank you for taking our time to share this idea with us. We owe you all the panelists. Please, the way up, do not forget. Oh, to that delivery, as an elder, once you are called upon, you are always willing and ready. It's really a great time with you, sir. I appreciate you, sir. Mrs. Diane Okoko, you just a very phone call, and since that day, you have ensured that today you will make it. We also appreciate you too. And for Adela voice, Kelvin and Octopus, you're one of us, and we're happy that you're also doing well. We are not so much from you. We're sure that at any point in time, we will always call upon you. Also, we need to thank Honorable Justice Harriman. We take out our time to participate. And look at the question you just said, our contribution. But we got to inform her that very soon we'll come back to be part of this webinar session. This is just the beginning. We are going to do more, and then we'll be from time to time. We'll come back to you panelists to help us out. We appreciate you. And all participants, thank you for being part of this service. MBA Warri is proud of all of you, and I'm sure we will not fail to do more. And to the committee members, thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless us all. But before that, let me just inform us that we have another series that is coming up. And that one will be on legal advertisement. The series of it you also get across and the show I will share. The webinar series is the new normal. It has come to stay. That is the advantage of also COVID-19. Thanks and God bless for being part of this system. Bye. Thank you.
That's all. Thank you so much. That's all from us. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Require
Okay, thank you very much for joining us in this live restream of the NBA Warri Branch webinar series. This live stream is actually designed to enable those people who were not able to attend the live webinar to have a kind of idea, a refreshed idea of what happened on that 13th day of April 2021. And so, as a matter of fact, it is more like you are watching the webinar just the same way everything happens on the 13th day of April 2021. It is a live stream. I understand the expression. It's a live stream which is actually um, coming to you live from the MBA Warri Branch Facebook page. So all that has been happening for let's say for about for the past 2 hours has been happening live from the MBA Warri Branch Facebook page. You can go to our Facebook page and like the page. If you have any question about the webinar series, you can drop your question there in the comment section of our page. When we see it, we're definitely going to get back to you with good answers. This webinar series, as a matter of fact, has come to stay. Um, at any time, you can always go to our Facebook page to watch it. You can also proceed to our YouTube channel. This one is actually coming to you live from the YouTube channel of the Nigerian Audiovisual Internet Law Reports TV. Is a television uh, uh, established, created to stream live law events of any type. We do live streaming. We also do restream of law events, uh, whether within Nigeria or outside Nigeria. But the good thing about the Nigerian Audiovisual Internet Law Report is that it is um, uh, proudly a Nigerian brand. We use the word Nigerian, not just Nigerian, Nigerian, to tell you that the 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 TV has an identity, and the identity is Nigeria. So we will be bringing you more law events, more legal events, seminars, workshops, conferences, as they are happening live and direct. Everything relating to law. If also we have the leave of court, we will also bring you live court proceedings as they are happening live in the court. We stream them just as they are happening, and you watch them live and direct with the leave of the court. So that is actually what the Nigerian Audiovisual Internet Law Report actually represents. It is both audio and visual. So audio in the sense that you can hear judgments being read out, you can hear rulings being read out, you can hear events uh, being broadcast live and direct. Uh, uh, is the first of its type in Nigeria and about the first of its type in Africa as well, to the best of our knowledge. We stand to be corrected. So that is it. We hope to bring you more events, more law events for you uh, to learn a great deal about what law practice is today. Hence, it is called uh, emerging legal practice or emerging areas of law practice. As well. So every day we have emerging areas. As long as we have human beings in this world doing business, as long as we have people who have problems and we look for lawyers to solve these problems, we will continue to have more webinars, more seminars, more workshops, more conferences to enable us as lawyers prospectualize ideas to help us in our practice. And we do believe that all of us will enjoy a great deal of what this initiative is all about. Thank you very much.